Dark Elves Chosen by Celeste King, Episode 10.
The suspense here is killing me.
What do you mean?
Well, there are only 2 episodes left of Dark Elves Chosen, and I don't think I can handle not knowing what's going to happen.
Don't you know that you can get access to the full season of any series on worldsofprothika.com?
Wait, really? Like, I don't have to wait another week to know what happens to Savannah and Julius?
No. You can go grab all 11 episodes right now. Read interruption-free. Use the discount code YouTube30 for 30% off all digital products, too.
This can't wait. I'm going to figure out what happens once and for all.
Thanks for listening to Dark Elves Chosen, Episode 10 by Celeste King. Chapter 91. Julius. I'm enjoying a little lie-in. Last night's fight with the Woodren left me battle-weary, so I thought I deserved an extra hour or two. A gentle knock sounds at the door, and I know it must be Savannah. Her soft tap against the door is unmistakable. Perhaps she would care to join me in my little lie between the sheets. I leap out of bed, full of hope. I remove my shirt to reveal my elfish chest in all its glory. I fix my hair, check my breath, and splash a splash of what I hope is tonic that I stole. Sorry. Borrowed. From Zulm. Why an orc should ever use a tonic is beyond me. I didn't think their minds worked like that. I thought a smear of blood or the guts of some poor soul would be more their thing. Once I know, I'm looking the best an elf can be. I open the door to reveal the most beautiful Savannah. "Good morning, my dear," I say, as I lean seductively against the doorframe. I notice Savannah's gaze travels up and down my body, lingering on my toned, elfly chest. I can almost feel her appreciation like a caress. But she quickly snaps out of it and meets my eyes, her expression serious. "Julius, we need to talk." "Really?" I say, disappointed of course. "Yes." She's quite firm about that, so there is no point in arguing with Savannah when she is. "Of course," I reply. "I'll go get my shoes on." "Thank you. I'll make us some fresh kafo." She smiles, turning away from me and walking toward the twisted stairs. I linger to gaze upon her ass as it moves heavenly from side to side. One day soon, that ass and everything that goes with it beneath that soft silk dress shall be mine. "Julius." Savannah turns at the top of the twisted stairs. "Shoes." "At once, my dear," I announce and slip into my room. I grab my shoes and slide them on. I check myself again in the mirror, just to be sure I am suitable for the day and the company it brings. The answer, as ever, is yes. Descending the twisted staircase, I catch a whiff of kafo brewing in the air. Its deep, rich aroma fills my senses as I enter the kitchen. Savannah's back is turned to me, her focused attention on the blue liquid simmering in the pot. "It smells like the perfect morning," I say, taking a seat at the table, unable to tear my eyes away from her graceful movements. "Sunshine and kafo go hand in hand," she replies, a small smile on her lips. She pours the steaming kafo into 2 mugs and brings them to the table, setting one in front of me. Her fingers brush against mine for a moment, and I can't help but feel a spark of electricity between us. "All right," I exhale, cradling the mug in my hands. "What's troubling you, Savannah?" "We haven't had much time to talk lately," she says. And it is true. The last few days have been mostly filled with too much information and wildfire. I agree. So what would you like to talk about? I ask, sipping the kafo. It's as rich and satisfying as it smells, but I can't enjoy it thoroughly with the weight of her words hanging in the air. It's about the spell. I can't stop thinking about it, she says, eyes locked onto mine. I'm worried that both of us might die. Zulm will figure it out, I assure her, trying to keep my tone calm and steady. Julius, we must face the reality that Zulm might not succeed. Her voice trembles, and I can see the fear shining in her eyes. Listen to me, I say, reaching across the table and grasping her hand. Zulm will figure it all out. For an orc, he's quite clever. We should give him time. Do you trust me? Her eyes glisten with unshed tears, but she nods, squeezing my hand tightly. Yes, I do, but that doesn't mean you can't be wrong. I never thought I could be wrong about something. I'm usually right on the coin. Something must have sparked this deeper concern in her. Is there something else? I say softly, my thumb stroking her knuckles. Julius, Zulm was up before dawn this morning, Savannah says. His voice from downstairs woke me. I sneaked out and watched him from above. What was he doing? I ask. He was mumbling to himself about the spell, pacing up and down like a madman trying to figure it out, Savannah says. Did he figure it out? I ask, hoping. But I know this conversation is not going that way. No, that's the thing. She looks down at the table, her head shaking. He threw the book down and stormed off. He hasn't been back since. Damn, I mutter, raking my fingers through my hair. That's more than a bit worrying. More than a bit, Julius. It's our lives we're talking about here, she exclaims, her eyes filled with terror. I stare into those beautiful eyes of hers, wishing I could take away her fear. This sorcerer bond is no joke, and without Zulm's help, we're royally screwed. I cure those wretched humans that put some in this position. Oh, one day I will return and cut the manhood of each and every one of them and sell their wives in the dark market. Okay, so we'll find someone else, I say, trying to sound confident, though uncertainty and anger gnaw at me. Who? She asks, desperation creeping into her voice. Nobody else knows how to complete the spell. There must be someone, I reply, my gaze flicking around the room, searching for hope, anything that might spark an idea. But we can't give up, Savannah. We've come too far to let this beat us. Julius, what if there's no one else? Her voice is barely a whisper now, trembling with vulnerability. Then we'll figure it out ourselves, I reply, my determination flaring like a wildfire. We'll travel every inch of this land, employ the best scholars, wise man and fool alike, and do whatever it takes to finish this goddamn spell. I won't let us die, Savannah. Not like this. I glance at Savannah, her face wet with tears, and my heart aches. She tries to wipe them away, but they just keep coming. I reach out, placing my hand on her shoulder, feeling the warmth of her skin even through the fabric. Hey, I say softly, we're going to get through this, okay? She looks up at me, her eyes red-rimmed and desperate. But how, Julius? What if we can't find anyone else? Plan A is we convince Zulm to help us, I reply, trying to inject my voice with confidence I don't feel. He just won't abandon us like this. Savannah sniffles, nodding slightly. I hope you're right. I really do. If Zulm needs conceiving, I am the elf who can do it, one way or the other. Trust me. I squeeze her shoulder reassuringly before letting go. But yet, I'm not sure if I even trust myself.
If someone had told me a month ago that I would be running for my life instead of sitting in the stuffy classroom of the bordello, preparing to be sold off to indoor, I would have laughed.
The forest is not your safe space, little one.
But there's no avoiding my fate.
It's you. You're the one.
I've spent my entire life training to be the perfect bride for the top-bidding dark elf. So much can change in so little time.
You understand why you're being punished, right, child?
Your blood. It sings to me.
Please, let me out of here.
You need to learn your place.
But what are you? Where are you taking me?
Run!
I'm a bringer of death.
No, you're not dying. I won't let you.
You won't be able to get out.
Let me go, please.
Sadie, I will make you mine.
Chapter 92. Savannah. Okay, Julius declares, setting down his cup. I should get some sword practice in. It helps me think. He knocks back the last of his caffo, pushes back his chair, and strides towards the twisted stairs. As he disappears upstairs, I can't help but feel a knot of worry forming in my chest. Our quest to complete the bond with Zulgrim is slipping from our grasp. It seems Zulgrim is struggling. Since he returned from wherever he was last night, he has lost confidence, which was clear from his actions. I wonder if that has anything to do with it. The sound of Julius's footsteps on the twisted staircase pulls me from my thoughts. I watch him descend, brandishing his sword with flair, engaging in an imaginary battle against unseen foes. A smile tugs at my lips. He always knows how to cheer me up. "Ha! Take that, you filthy beast!" he exclaims, executing a graceful spin before leaping forward with a lunge. I giggle, unable to contain my amusement. As he bounces around the room, continuing his mock battle, I am captivated by the fluidity of his movements and the way his eyes sparkle with determination and playfulness. "Julius," I call out, trying to suppress another burst of laughter, "you're quite the swordsman." "My sword is mighty," he shouts, striking a gallant pose. A true swordsman must not only be skilled in combat, but also in entertaining his audience. He gives me a little wink, and I blush. And for a moment, I allow myself to forget our troubles, allowing the sound of Julius's shouts to fill the air as we revel in this brief respite from the weight of our troubles. The door opens, pulling me away from Julius's antics. I look to see Zulgrim entering, his usually vibrant green skin now sickly and pale. His eyes, once filled with a fierce determination, are clouded with doubt. Julius lowers his sword, the joy draining from his face as he takes in Zulgrim's appearance. "Good morning," Zulgrim forces out, his voice strained and lacking its usual gruffness. "Zulgrim, you look tired," Julius says cautiously. "I am fine," Zulgrim says. "Have you eaten?" "Not yet, but I'll wait until lunch," Julius says. "I was hoping we could talk." "If we must, and I believe we must," Zulgrim replies. I feel a heavy weight settle in my chest, and I'd rather not witness the conversation they're about to have. Its outcome may be too distressing. "I'm going to get some fresh air if you'll excuse me," I tell them. "Take care out there, Savannah," Julius calls after me, his voice tinged with concern. "I will," I assure him. I step outside. The sun is warm on my face, and I take a deep breath, inhaling the earthy scent of the forest. The rustling leaves and distant birdsong provide the perfect distraction as I wander through the woods, careful not to stray too far. I never want to meet what I know to be out there. A sparkling stream catches my attention, and I follow its gentle flow until it pours into a deep, clear pond. The water's surface shimmers under the sunlight, casting dancing patterns onto the surrounding rocks and foliage. Sitting by the edge, I dangle my feet into the cool water, allowing it to wash away the stress and anxiety that clung to me moments prior. I close my eyes and listen to the tranquil sounds of nature, trying to forget about the heavy burden we all carry. The sun's warmth kisses my cheeks as I recline on the lush grass, allowing the forest's symphony to fill me with tranquility. My chest rises and falls in rhythm with the rustling leaves, my thoughts intoxicated by the scent of blooming flowers mingling with damp earth. "Savannah, come quick!" Julius's urgent cry shatters the fragile peace I'd found, sending my heart racing. His voice is laced with desperation, and I know something must be wrong. Damn it, I was enjoying this brief respite. "Coming!" I shout back, scrambling to my feet. Leaves and twigs crunch beneath my boots as I sprint toward Zulgrim's house, my pulse pounding in my ears. As I near the dwelling, I see Julius standing at the door, sword still in hand and concern etched into his features. The sight of him holding the weapon sends a chill down my spine. I hope he hasn't done anything silly. "Julius!" I pant, trying to catch my breath. "What's going on?" "I'm sorry he can't do it," he says quickly, catching my worried gaze. With those words, all my hopes seem to crash around me, leaving me hopeless and surrounded by a darkness so thick I fear I will never find my way out.
Chapter 93. Julius. My fists tighten, nails digging into my palms as fury courses through me. I can't believe that big useless piece of orc meat has bottled on us. I look at Savannah. Her eyes are filled with tears, and the thought of her dying because Zulm can't complete the Sorcerer's bond spell makes my blood boil. Right. I'm gonna kill the bastard, I snarl. No! Savannah exclaims, grabbing my arm. What good is that going to do? I take a deep breath, knowing she's right. Killing Zulm won't help us, but damn if it wouldn't feel satisfying to take my anger out on his useless orc face. I shake my head and manage to calm down just enough to think straight. I want to talk to him, Savannah says softly, wiping her tears away. I don't think it will do any good, but if you need to. I reluctantly agree. I follow her inside, seething with anger. I can't believe she's still wasting our time on this useless sack of nothing. But then again, it's just like Savannah to never give up until we are knee-deep in a mess. Zulm sits on a chair at the far end of the world. The fire that used to roar there has gone out. Stay here, and for the mother's sake, keep your temper, she tells me. And I know that will be very hard to do. Zulm, she says as she walks across the room toward her. He looks up at her, his face betraying the shame and sorrow he should be feeling right now. My blood boils as I stand by the door, gripping the hilt of my sword, ready to strike the bastard at any moment. Savannah walks over to Zulm, sitting there with his head bowed like some lost puppy. The sight of him pisses me off even more. I've let you down. I've let them all down, Zulm mumbles, his voice shaking. Pathetic. Look, it's okay, Savannah says, her words gentle and comforting. I roll my eyes. Not okay, I think, but keep my mouth shut for her sake. There are bits I just don't understand. It could take me a lifetime to understand, Zulm admits. But why give up? Savannah asks, clearly trying to coax something useful from this worthless orc. I believe it all to be beyond me. I left to speak to the war god, but he didn't answer. I fear he has forsaken me, he mutters. The war god? Savannah asks. It's the orcs' pretend god, I mutter, causing Zulm to give me a shooting look. Ha! I think that got him. Julius, please, Savannah says. Sorry, I reply, and fiddle with my sword. I'm really trying to keep my tempter here. I'm not a good orc, believe me. I'm sorry that I let you trust me. I thought this could redeem me, Zulm stammers, looking up at her with sad, stupid eyes. Oh, for the god's sake, I can't take it anymore. Save us the pity act, Greenback. It's us that has to deal with your damn failure. I told you from the start, Savannah, he's a trickster, a useless grifter. My voice is loud and harsh, each word dripping with venom. Zulm shoots to his feet, his face contorted in anger. I am not a trickster, he roars at me, his deep voice echoing through the room. Screw you, bursts from my lips before I can stop myself. I square up and raise my sword, ready to plunge it into his ugly green face. You want a piece of me? You dirty orc, you're all the same. The sooner your pathetic race is whipped from history, the better, I shout, feeling a vicious thrill course through me. I know killing him won't solve anything, but it would feel so damn satisfying. I can see the fear in his eyes, and it only fuels my anger further. He knows he is no match for me. Stop it! Savannah screams, her voice cracking with desperation. Please, stop it! He started it! I spit out, my chest heaving. I can feel my blood boiling beneath my skin. Stop being such a child, Julius! She glares at me, her eyes pleading for sanity. I flick my sword at him in defiance. Savannah's gaze darts between us before she fixes her eyes on mine. She nods towards the sword still raised in my hand. Her silent command doesn't go unnoticed. I lower the weapon, trying to get my rage under control. But in my mind, I know that Zulm has cemented his place at the top of my revenge list. I turn my back on both of them. No, he's right, Zulgrim admits, his voice unsteady. I shouldn't have led you here, giving you false hope. His monstrous face no doubt contorted into something resembling regret in front of Savannah. I can't believe she is falling for this. We should go, Julius, Savannah suggests hurriedly. We don't know how much time we have, but promise me this, Zulgrim, that book will never leave your possession, and if we ever need it, you grant us that wish. I shall protect it with my life, and I shall the ocean to bring it to you, should that be your wish, Zulgrim says with a bow. Thank you, Zulgrim, Savannah says, and I roll my eyes. Orc will probably sell it for a skinny human slave he can screw to death, then lament about it to bored strangers while he drinks himself to death in some dirty tavern in Voig. I see Savannah hurry from the room, leaving me alone with the orc. We stare at each other in silence, both unwilling to back away first. But I don't give up that easily, so I keep my gaze fixed on him. Finally, Zulgrim lowers his head and sits back down, defeated. I seize the opportunity to storm past him, feeling my anger flare again at this sad, pathetic orc who, let's face it, has screwed us both royally over. I stomp up the twisted stairs to my room, cursing under my breath. As I gather my belongings, I find myself replaying the scene over and over in my head, like a poison that refuses to leave my system. My hands shake with pent-up fury, and I know I won't be able to let this go anytime soon. Screw you, orc, I mutter to myself, gritting my teeth. I realize now that the plan B I promised Savannah in the event of an outcome like this must be delivered. But I don't have a damn clue what plan B is. Right now, I need a miracle to keep the both of us alive.
There isn't much left of the world after the orcs came.
Savage. Brutal. Merciless.
If you're a woman, you're property. Even to other humans.
What happens when an orc stakes his claim on a human woman? Who would dare to stop him?
Me. Chapter 94. Savannah. The forest looms before us, an endless sea of trees and shadows surrounding the path we've found. I can't shake the image of Zulgrim's face from my mind, the hurt in his eyes as we left him behind. Well, here we are again, my dear. Two lost souls wandering the world with hopeless abandonment, Julius says as he tries to pick a strange-looking fruit from a passing tree, but fails. The branches bounce and then quickly snap back, hitting him in the face. Damn it, that hurt! It doesn't feel right, Julius. I tell him because it doesn't. I am sure of that. What? Julius says, rubbing his cheek and trying to compose himself. Leaving Zulgrim behind. I repeat myself. Tish and pish, dear Savannah, tish and pish. Julius says as he picks up a stick and examines it closely. Then, unimpressed, he discards it again. Damn it, Julius, I mutter, fighting back tears. We shouldn't have just left him like that. Zulgrim brought this upon himself, Savannah, Julius snaps, his anger still simmering beneath the surface. He betrayed us. You don't forget something like that. The crunch of leaves beneath our feet echoes through the silent forest, emphasizing that every step takes us further away from him. My heart twists with guilt, and I can't bear it any longer. Stop, I demand, planting my feet firmly on the ground. Julius halts beside me, his brows furrowing as he turns to face me. We have to go back, Julius. We can't just leave him. He looks so sad, so alone. Are you out of your damn mind? Julius explodes, his voice rising. That orc pretty has left us to die, Savannah. Don't you get that? Of course I do, I shout back, my emotions getting the better of me. But he also helped us when we were in need. He saved us from Gilner. Doesn't that count for anything? He had ulterior motives, Savannah, and when he realised he couldn't fool an elf such as I, he backed out and did that very quickly. I bet he even staged the whole Woodrosan debacle. Julius retorts, crossing his arms over his chest. I don't trust him, Savannah, and neither should you. Julius, please. My voice breaks, desperation seeping into my words. We're all he has. We can't just abandon him. Damn it, Savannah, he snarls, glaring at me. Zulgrim used us. He's an orc. They're known for their deceit. We can't trust him. Julius, please. My voice trembles, and I take a deep breath to steady myself. We're all he has. We can't just abandon him. We stare each other down, both stubborn and unwilling to concede. But then I see something shift in Julius's eyes. A flicker of doubt, a trace of guilt. I doubt it, but it's enough. For you, he grits out finally, his jaw clenched tight. We'll go back, but don't expect me to forgive him. Thank you, I whisper, relief washing over me like a wave. We turn around and retrace our steps back towards Zulgrim's house. Julius huffs and puffs now and again, but that is to be expected. As we make our way back to Zulgrim's house through the broken, sunlit forest, my mind races with anxiety. Have I made the right decision? I test myself. What if Julius is right? But Julius rarely is, so I decide to trust my decision. Did I ever tell you about the time I took on 6 orcs on Rage? We were coming back from the dark market. I'll take you one day. Actually, it's probably best not. Anyway, they'd washed up on the beach. They were an angry lot, I'll tell you, but they were no match for us. We cut them limb from limb and threw them back into the sea, Julius says proudly. Lovely, I reply. It was rather lovely, yes, good times, Julius replies. We round the bend leading to Zulgrim's house. The first thing I notice is the magic door left open. Not something Zulgrim would do without reason. Something is not right, I tell Julius, who immediately draws his sword. That thing is really starting to annoy me now. The sooner he gets his magic fully back, the better. We enter cautiously. A terrible sight greets us. The once cosy home is now ransacked. Zulgrim, I call out, fear seizing my chest. No response. Come out, you dogs, and face my sword, Julius shouts out. Zulgrim, it's us, I call out, but still no response. We begin to take in the full extent of what now looks like an intrusion. Books are everywhere, and Julius puts 2 and 2 together quickly. The spell! Julius barks, his voice tight with urgency. He dashes over to the pile of books where it had been hidden and rummages frantically. Damn it! He swears, turning to me, his face a mixture of anger and concern. It's gone, Savannah. The damn book is gone. My stomach churns, fear gnawing at me like a hungry beast. What happened here? And where's Zulgrim? My eyes catch a glint of something on the floor amidst the mess. I step over the chaos and pick up the book that had interested me the other day. Light and Dark, Origins of the Elf. The weight of it in my hands feels comforting, as if it's meant to be here with me now. I glance at Julius, who is still cursing under his breath and searching for the book. I open the cover and notice a handwritten message on the first page. Read this book. Seek out the lost temple of the Triad, and you shall know the truth. Reveal this to no one, especially the Dark One, Rosenfire, Zulgrim. I quickly close the book and, without Julius's seeing, slip it into my rucksack, wondering what to do.
Chapter 95. Julius. A cold, familiar creeping sensation runs down my spine as I stand in the midst of Zulgrim's ransacked house. I'm realizing that we might be in great danger. Maybe we should leave. Now, I suggest urgently to Savannah. I'd agree that. A good idea, Savannah agrees. her gaze fixed on the books scattered around the room. Seizing the opportunity, I grabbed several bottles of wildfire from Zulgrim's shelf and stuffed them into my bag. "Good call," Savannah says as she grabs what food she can. "Keep us warm at night," I tell her, raising one eyebrow. "Julius, what about Zulgrim? What if he is in grave danger?" she asks. "Zulgrim can take care of himself. He can just magic himself out of whatever pickle he is in," I tell her. "Poor Zulgrim, another orc lost to the wind," Savannah laments. My patience is wearing thin. Yet another damn orc is getting lamented over by her. If they wouldn't get such airs and graces and just stay in their Torah heaps in Orkland, maybe they wouldn't end up missing or dead. I can't help myself saying. Savannah gives me a cutting look. "You really are a dick sometimes, Julius, do you know that? What a cruel thing to say. I'm beginning to think that what they say about you elves might be true." "What's that supposed to mean? Who says what about us?" I snap, shocked at the thought that people think ill of us. "I'm not telling you," Savannah snaps back, grabs her rucksack and marches out the door. "No, really, what do they say?" I call after her. When she ignores me, I grab my rucksack and follow her out the door. As I catch up with Savannah, it would appear she is not talking to me now. The silence between us is thick with tension as we make our way along the forest path. All I can hear are our heavy breaths and leaves crunching underfoot. My mind races with questions, worries, and anger. Why does Savannah care so much for these orcs? I am missing something. Well, I suppose Zulgrim did save my life, but he'd hardly have left me for dead. "Savannah," I say. "Listen, I'm sorry." "It's fine, Julius, don't worry about it," Savannah says, staring straight ahead, her pace quickening. I don't think it is as fine as she says, but I guess it's a start. "So what do they say about us elves?" I ask. I really need to know this. "Julius, enough!" Savannah snaps back. "Sorry," I reply. "Maybe I should stay quiet for a while." We continue deeper into the forest, our silent journey pressing on under the dimming sky. The fading light only adds to my unease, and I can't shake the feeling that something terrible awaits us. But for now, I can only focus on putting one foot in front of the other and praying we'll find safety soon. The shadows lengthen around us, stretching like twisted claws reaching out from the dark heart of the forest. Savannah's voice thankfully breaks the silence that has been suffocating me. "Julius," Savannah says. "Yes, my dear," I say with an upbeat tone. "Where are we going to sleep tonight?" she asks, her eyes wide with concern. "It's getting dark." I mutter. In all honesty, I hadn't given it much thought. The weight of the bottles of wildfire in my bag feels heavier now, a constant reminder of our precarious situation. "We'll find somewhere soon," I say, attempting to sound reassuring. "Don't worry." "What about the Udrosin?" Savannah says. But her worry is contagious, and despite my best efforts to not let it show, I can feel the tendrils of fear creeping up my spine. "We're probably well out of their reach by this stage. Don't be worrying your little self about that," I reassure her. "Walk closer to me, would you?" Savannah asks. "Of course, with pleasure," I reply and slip my hand into hers. We press on, the darkness closing in around us like an inky shroud. Something will come up soon, perhaps a little hunter's hut or a tidy little clearing where we can romantically hide away. But as the darkness closes in on us, strange noises echo through the forest, eerie cries and rustling leaves sending shivers down my back. Savannah clutches at my arm, her fingers digging into my flesh. I force a brave smile, but the sensation of being watched gnaws at me. "Stay close," I tell her, scanning the surrounding trees for any sign of shelter. That's when I see it, a peculiar patch of forest that seems off somehow. It's as if the trees have been manipulated by some unseen hand, their branches bent and twisted together in unnatural ways. "Look there," I point, trying to keep my voice steady. "Let's check it out." As we approach, I can't help but admire the craftsmanship in shaping and interweaving the trees so skillfully. But who could have done this? And more importantly, are they friends or foes? Maybe we found a place to stay after all, Savannah murmurs, hope flickering in her eyes. Maybe, I agree, although my gut screams at me that something isn't right. But what choice do we have? The Woodrosen could be lurking in the shadows, waiting for nightfall to strike, and our options are limited. Cautiously, we continue to examine the strange structure. The intricate tapestry of branches and leaves reveals itself further, an unnatural yet captivating testament to the skill of its creator. Savannah's eyes widen in amazement as she reaches out a trembling hand to touch the smooth surface of the bent trees. Julius. This is incredible, she breathes, her voice barely audible. Careful, I warn her, the hairs on the back of my neck standing up. We don't know who made this or why. We circle the strange structure, marveling at its beauty while searching for any sign of an entrance. As we round the far side, an opening shaped like a doorway appears before us, as if it had been waiting for our arrival. I glance at Savannah, seeing the same mixture of trepidation and curiosity mirrored in her eyes. Should we? I ask, gripping my sword tightly. It's not like we have much to lose, she replies. As we step through the threshold, the world shifts around us. The air crackles with energy, and for a moment I fear I've led us into a trap. But before I can react, a voice rings out from the shadows, stopping us in our tracks. Stop right there, it snarls. A figure emerges from the darkness, a skinny old dark elf, wearing only a loincloth, his skin a deep shade of midnight blue. His icy gaze locks onto us, and I can see the barely restrained fury behind his eyes. He brandishes a large wooden staff and doesn't look like the friendliest of elves. How did you break the magic of my Woodward? He snarls at us.
Chapter 96. Savannah. The angry old elf stands before us with a fiery gaze. His eyes flick between Julius and me, his irritation evident in the creases on his weathered face. Well, answer, how did you break the magic of my Woodward? He demands. What is Woodride? I look at Julius for an answer, but he looks as puzzled as me. My heart races as I try to find an explanation for our intrusion into his den before the mad elf attacks. But thankfully, Julius steps forward and takes control of the situation. We apologize, he says smoothly, but we were seeking shelter for the night. We did not know that this fine, Woodward belonged to anyone. The elf's eyebrows shoot up in disbelief, clearly unable to fathom our ignorance. You didn't think that such a Woodward such as this could belong to anyone? What? Are the both of you mad? Julius maintains his composure, even though I can tell he's struggling to contain Walther's anger. We thought some animal might have fashioned it, he offers cautiously. This only serves to anger the elf further, his face turning a deep shade of red. I clench my fists and get ready to summon my magic, hopefully, if needed, anticipating a potential fight. Julius's hand rests gently on my shoulder as if sensing my unease. I step forward. My voice is shaky but determined. We apologize for any offence caused. It is indeed a fine, Woodward, perhaps the best I have ever laid eyes upon. The elf's eyes soften as they fall on me, but only for a brief moment before his gaze lowers to my chest, lingering there. My cheeks flush with embarrassment and anger, yet I hold his stare, refusing to let him intimidate me. Julius clears his throat loudly, catching the elf's attention. Allow me to introduce ourselves, he says, directing the elf's focus back to him. This is Savannah Freeman, daughter of Baron Freeman, and I am Julius Rosenfire, of the Rosenfire family of Orthani. He bows gracefully, his eyes never leaving the elf's face. Julius Rosenfire, you say? The elf scoffs, looking Julius up and down. But he's dead. My heart sinks. Not another one who has heard this tall tale of Julius's demise. Beside me, Julius looks taken aback, and shock etched across his face. Why does everyone keep saying that? Julius asks, his frustration mounting. Because you're dead, the elf replies as if a matter of fact. Well, obviously I'm not, Julius retorts, his jaw clenching in irritation. The elf scrutinizes Julius for a second before relenting. I'll take your word for it. He waves his hand dismissively, as if brushing away the inconvenience of our presence. Rolling his eyes, Julius exhales sharply. We can't afford to make enemies here. We need shelter. But how do you reason with someone who is quite literally mad? I clasp my hands together, summoning the courage to speak. Look, we didn't mean to intrude. The elf studies me for a moment, the fire in his eyes replaced by a calculating glint. The elf lowers his staff, evidently deciding that we pose no threat to him or his Woodward, whatever that is. I am Walther of the Woods, he says, a hint of pride in his voice, but my friends and many lovers call me Deadbolt. Both Julius and I are taken aback by the statement. This wiry old elf doesn't look like a Deadbolt. A Walther of the Woods, yes. May I ask why they call you Deadbolt? Julius asks with a genuine curiosity. Walther gives a devilish grin. If you lend me your lady, I can show you, he replies, leering at me. My gut twists with unease. I can't help but gasp, repulsed and shocked by the audacity of his words. A seething anger begins to boil within me, but I bite my tongue, knowing that starting a fight here is not wise. Instead, I shoot Julius a pleading glance, hoping he'll handle the situation without escalating it further. Your humour is appreciated, Julius says, letting out a large belly laugh. Walther stares at him for a second, then starts to laugh as well. I decide to join in myself in an attempt to validate the odd situation we have found ourselves in. Enough! Walther suddenly shouts. I jump a little. Now what in Glacey's sake do you want? Julius steps forward. We seek shelter from the beasts that lurk in the forest. As you can see, I cannot let a lady such as this risk the danger of a night exposed to all manners of evil. So I'd request that you assist a fellow elf in helping me keep the lady safe, Julius explains. Walter's eyes scan us. He chuckles, clearly amused by our predicament. Okay, she can stay, and you can go. You can pick her up in the morning. Sorry? Julius asks. Walther giggles. Only pulling your leg, Walther says, much to my relief. Your humour knows no bounds, it would seem, Julius remarks. Yes, I am known for that as well, Walther proudly says. Very well, he adds, waving his staff in the air. You may stay the night, but don't touch anything. Of course, I say quickly, looking around the empty den, which has not one thing to touch. We thank you for the kindness. Once I return to my previous high status, you shall be rewarded generously, Julius says. I see you are intent on returning from the dead, Julius Rosenfire, Walther says slyly. Yes, I have every intention of that, Julius says with a smile.
Chapter 97. Julius. Both Savannah and I jump back a little as Walther suddenly shoots a bolt of fire out of his staff toward the center of the den. From it appears a welcome fire that fills the den with instant heat. Is that wise? I ask. There's a lot of wood around. Walther chuckles, his voice a low rumble. It's not real, thick neck. It's magic. With a daring grin, he steps into the fire. The flames, like playful serpents, dance around his skin but do not harm him. He leaps out unscathed. Bet you can't do that, Julius Rosias? Savannah claps and I give her a look. She seems to take great delight in silly tricks such as this. My magic is somewhat limited at present, but I dare say I could if I took a fancy to, I reply. That should shut him up. Yet another thing I have to take your word on, Walther says. Blast, he got me there. I think it is amazing, Walther, Savannah says, trying to calm the mood. Walther's head flicks around at her. Please, young miss. Can me Deadbolt? Savannah smiles. Well, Walther says, leaning closer to her. I swear if that wiry little bastard goes any closer to her, I shall be forced to draw my sword. Of course, Deadbolt, Savannah reluctantly says, forcing the words out of her mouth, each one stinging as she does. Walther does a little twirl and asks, Well, what are we having for supper? Sorry, I ask. I give you a warm bed and entertainment for the evening. It is only right you supply the sustenance to see us through our cozy little evening together, Walther says. Yes, Savannah says, reaching into her bag and taking out some of the food she had taken from Zulm's house. Excellent, Walther says. And to drink? He's after my wildfire now. Damn, I was saving that to loosen Savannah at some stage soon. I reach into my bag and pull out a bottle of the wildfire. Walther seizes it in an instant, pops the cork, and starts to drink. And drink until it is all gone. He then hands the empty bottle back to me. Very good. Very good. Warming my cockles nicely, that, Walther says, as he grabs the food out of Savannah's hand and woofs that down as well. I look at Savannah, who is staring at the small piece of bread Walther has left us with, breaks it, and hands half to me. We both begin to slowly chew, as I hope he doesn't ask for more wildfire. I only have one bottle left and would like to keep it. I finally swallow the dry bread with a forced gulp. Excellent supper all round, Walther proclaims. Yes, lovely, I say. I'm stuffed, Savannah adds. I like to look after my guests, Walther remarks. You're very kind, Savannah says. Yes, I am, aren't I? Walther confirms. Then he drops to the floor and sits, smiling with crossed legs. Now let us chat. Not knowing what else to do, both Savannah and I follow him. If you don't mind me asking, what is a wood ride? I ask, hoping that conversation might tire him out. I thought you knew, Walther snaps. Forgive me, I was just being polite, I reply. By lying? I don't think lying is very polite, Walther states. I believe that a lie can be much more truthful than the truth in certain circumstances, I tell him. I watch as Walther ponders my rather wise words, if I do say so myself. I like that, Walther finally says. So, I will answer your question. Thank you, I reply. A wood ride is a place crafted by magic. It is a shelter from all that is bad outside. Only the weaver of it, or those he invites, can enter. This leads me back to the first question I asked when we met. How did you break that magic? Walther says. I have no idea, I reply, because I really don't. Savannah says, could be because of my sword. No, I don't think so, Savannah, I say, cutting Savannah off. I don't want this madman getting involved with our Sorcerer's bond pain in the ass thing. Your sword? Walther asks. Yes, I was grifted by a sea captain. He hinted that it had powers beyond running someone through with it, I say. You selling it? Walther asks. No, I say quickly. Why not? Walther replies. I like it, I say. So do I, Julius. Okay, we'll share it, deal? Walther. No, I snap. Walther looks at Savannah and mouths an O. Savannah giggles. I have another question for you, O wise one, I say. Careful, thick neck, Walther says. I don't have a thick neck. I'm getting sick of this little prick. Tell me, Walther, Savannah says. Deadbolt, Walther cuts in quickly. Sorry, Deadbolt, what happens if someone does try to get in? Savannah asks. Well, they have to see it first, Walther explains. What? Savannah asks. There are woodrids everywhere. You just have to have a special magic flowing through your veins to see them. Some long abandoned and some still in use, passed down from dark elf to dark elf who had that special kind of magic. Old magic. They were all the rage after the Great War. Elves wanted to get back to nature after the nightmare we all went through, Walther explains. His tone has a touch of sadness about it. You fought in the Great War? That's impossible, I insist. Nothing, Thickneck, is impossible. All the rules can be bent and broken. I learned that from Mythos himself, Walther says. Mythos? Ha! I've heard everything now, I ask. The chronicler himself. He fought with us in the Great War. After the fighting was done, and before he left to Rome, he granted a few of us each a question he would answer, Walther explains. What did you ask him? Savannah asks him. How I could live forever, Walther explains. Hold on a minute here. Are you trying to say that Mythos told you the secret to eternal life, and you have chosen to live in a magic hut in the forest until the end of time? I mean, before we even explore the silliness of that, why do you need protection if you cannot die? I ask the now quite decided old elf as mad as a biscuit. I did not ask him how I couldn't die. I asked him how I could live forever. Both are different things entirely. Walther explains. Oh, I know, Savannah shouts. You can die, but if you don't die, you will live forever. You are as wise as the keeper herself, my young soft and sweet Savannah, Walther says, drifting into a predictable wise old man routine. It's always the pretty young ladies. They just can't help themselves. Wow, Savannah says, clearly impressed by this little perv. I've never heard so much nonsense in all my life. I've had enough. Walther turns to me. I assume you have never heard yourself speak then, Julius Rosieas? Right, that's it. I've had enough. As I go to grab my sword with the intention of running it through this little brat's face, that's when we hear the almighty roar from the forest outside. The Woodrosen have come.
Chapter 98. Savannah. My blood turns cold as the roar of the Woodrosen shakes me to my core. Never fear, Savannah, we are protected here, Walther says smugly. And you can put away your sword. It will not find a use in here, but it might out there. I look at Julius. He knows that if we go out there, we will surely die. In my mind, I tell him to do the right thing, and I hope that he listens. As he puts his sword away and looks at me, I know he has heard my thoughts sent to him. I just hope that Walther's Woodward lives up to its name. They can't even see it. To them, it is just another bunch of trees to bang their clubs against, Walther claims with the same tone that really seems to get on Julius's nerves. Another roar that shakes the very ground we stand on. I rush to Julius, unable to contain my fear any longer. Never fear, my dear. Julius is here to protect you, Julius says, shooting a look at Walther. You're not in your shame, are you? Walther asks Savannah. Sorry, Savannah replies. Your shame. That monthly cycle that human women go through drives them crazy, you see. They can sense it, Walther explains to Savannah's horror. She's a half-elf. Those unclean human things don't apply to her, Julius thankfully explains. Half-elf, you say? Interesting, Walther says, rubbing his chin. Why do some people seem to have that same reaction when it is explained that I am half-elf? Just because my ears aren't pointy and I am not a selfish, evil bastard, it cannot be believed. Then, a large object, like a rock, strikes the woodrid. I see the blood drain from Walter's face. What? Walther mutters. That cannot be. Julius turns to him. What do you mean? Speak elf, what do you mean? That has never happened before. I mean, it can't happen, a stunned Walther explains. Damn it! Explain yourself! What does it mean? Julius yells as another large object hits the woodride. It means they can see us. The hut. They know we are here. That should not happen, Walther says, his usual smug tone now replaced with fear. Are you saying they can get in? That your whole magic shield thing is just some nonsense you invented to make yourself seem more than some mad pervert in a loincloth? Julius shouts at an increasingly frightened Walther. It's you two, Walther says. It all worked until you two arrived. There is something wrong with both of you. No! I shout at Walther. How dare he blame Julius and I? Julius is right. He's just some mad old elf. We are doomed now we trusted him. That's when the first hairy fist comes crashing through the wall, and I scream and take shelter behind Julius, who draws his sword. You must leave, Walther shouts. You are both impure. The magic cannot work with you here. Get out. Out there. You would send us out there to certain death? Oh, you are a Weasley little bastard. Julius snaps at Walther. I cannot die. I'm supposed to live forever. Walther yells at us, his eyes now red with hatred for us. Then another hairy fist smashes through the wall of the woodride. This time Julius acts and leaps, raising his sword high in the air and bringing it down on the waist of the hairy arm. There is a scream as the hand is cut clean from the arm and drops to the floor. Blood shoots out from it as it desperately tries to withdraw it back through the wall of the woodride. Take that, you hairy bastard! Julius yells. My elf has made us proud, but I fear the worst is still to come. I must try to help us with my magic. Please, make it work when I need it. Walther has now become frantic. Get out, you bastards! Get out of here! He yells at us. I see Julius turn toward Walther. Right, you little brat. Let's see how you like it. I watch as Julius runs toward him. Walther tries to bend down to reach his staff, but is too slow for Julius, who drops his sword and grabs Walther around the waist. I slide downward and pick up Julius's sword, ready to give back to him when needed. Let me go, you dirty bastard! Walther screams as Julius lifts him from the ground like a sack of flour. It is then that I realise what Julius is about to do, and I know I should object, but at this moment I have a choice to make, and that choice has to be Julius and me and our survival. So I turn my head and can only imagine Julius carrying Walther to the door of the woodride and throwing him outside to the mercy of those angry beasts. Cover your ears, Savannah. This will not be pretty, Julius tells me, but I can't. Something inside me tells me I have to face this, face the truth of who and what Julius and I have become. Help me, I cannot die, not like this, Walther repeatedly yells from outside. Then, soon, those cries for help are replaced by blood-curdling screams that will haunt me forever as the woodrosen tear Walther's flesh apart, and I am in no doubt his suffering will be great. The pain he will experience before they finally let him die will be unbelievable. But for true love, sacrifices must be made. And in this case, ours was a very old dark elf, whose friends and many lovers like to call him Deadbolt.
Chapter 99. Julius. The last echoes of Walther's screams linger in my ears, an unwelcome reminder of the choice I'd made. My head aches with some regret, but yet my soul does not. I couldn't risk Savannah's life. It was him or us, and I am more than happy to make that work. Clutching my sword tightly, I brace myself for the woodrosen to come charging through the door. This is the moment that will see my love for Savannah painted in my own blood across the stars for generations to come. I will be the tragic hero of this story. How's that magic coming along? I ask Savannah. I'm working on it, Savannah calls out softly, her voice wavering. I glance over at her and see determination etched on her face as she prepares to use her magic. The tingling sensation of her power fills the air, and I can practically taste it. Good, we're going to need it. Stay back, I'll lead from the front, I tell her firmly, wanting her to be out of reach of the Woodrosen Club. She nods, taking her place behind me. We are together as we face the uncertain danger. Whatever happens, we'll die or live together, she whispers, and I can feel her warm breath on the back of my neck. It sends a shiver down my spine, the realization of the situation we are in. Just a pair of hopeless lovers, trapped in each other's spell, I respond, gripping my sword even tighter, spreading my legs a little, and making sure I look the part I am doomed now to play. But the onslaught never comes. Instead, the snarls and growls of the woodrosen gradually fade into the distance, leaving us in an eerie silence. Are they gone? Savannah asks me, and I listen to the silence of the forest, and I think she might be right. It seems like it, I reply, slowly lowering my sword. For all the meat that was on him, I think Walther seems to have satisfied them. We did the right thing, Julius. We made the right decision, didn't we? Savannah says to me. I believe we did. He was an insufferable little brat, I tell her. I agree, although I'd have chosen a different set of words, Savannah tells me. And I'm sure a bard, somewhere, someday will use your words and not mine, I tell her. I understand, she sighs, her voice heavy with sorrow. It is balance. Yes, that's it. Balance, I say, trying to offer a small comfort. But we're still alive, and we'll continue to fight as long as we can draw breath. She nods, and together we stand in the silence of our makeshift sanctuary, grateful for the reprieve yet mourning the loss of our fallen friend. With the danger seemingly past, I decide we could use a bit of celebration. Reaching into my rucksack, I pull out the last bottle of wildfire. I think we've earned this, I say, offering it to Savannah with a grin. Indeed we have, she replies, taking the bottle and raising it in a toast. To survival. As I place my sword on the ground to retrieve my own drink, it suddenly begins to glow with a bright, pulsing orange light. Startled, I lift it, only for the light to dim. Experimentally, I swing the sword in different directions, watching as it dims and brightens in response. Julius, what's happening? Savannah asks, her eyes wide with concern. I think the sword is trying to tell us something, I say, remembering the words of Ajax. Like what? Savannah asks. I think I know the direction we must go, I reply, pointing the sword toward the brightest glow. Ajax said that the sword would guide us back to his ship when we were in dire need. And it seems that time has come. Then let's follow it, Savannah agrees, her determination shining through despite the lingering grief over Walther. In the morning, of course. First, a drink. Of course, I say, gesturing for her to take a swig of the wildfire. As she does, I can't help but admire her resilience. She's been through so much, yet still stands tall, ready to face whatever challenges lie ahead. It's a quality I'm grateful for, especially as we navigate this treacherous world together. The warmth of the wildfire burns down my throat, and I catch a glimpse of Savannah's eyes shimmering with unspoken emotions as she takes another swig. My heart races, fueled by the fiery liquid and the whirlwind of feelings that surge through me. Damn, Julius, Savannah exclaims, wiping her lips with the back of her hand. I do love this stuff. Yes, I've grown quite fond of it myself, my dear, I reply, smirking at her flushed cheeks. We pass the bottle back and forth, our bodies growing warmer and closer with each shared sip. Here's to us, I'm beginning to think we are invincible, my dear. Yes, me too, Savannah replies. The air between us hangs thin yet solid. We both know there are some things better left unsaid. Yet what we did to Walther will hover silently over us like a ghost. But I think I can live with that. He was more than willing to sacrifice us after all. I raise to my feet and raise my sword into the air. Savannah giggles. Tomorrow, my dear, we will follow the sword, and we will cut down anyone who stands in our way, I proclaim. Savannah claps and shouts, To Julius! To Savannah! I shout, then drunkenly lose my footing, fall to the ground and pass out.
Chapter 100. Savannah. Julius, we've been trudging through this valley for 2 days now, and that sword of yours doesn't seem to be leading us anywhere. And those mountains that leer down at us, I fear they threaten to attack at any second. I vent my frustration to Julius, who is walking up ahead with his sword pointed forward and glowing. Have faith, my dear. Orthani wasn't built in a day, Julius replies. But we're not building a city, Julius. We are following a glowing sword, I shout. Okay, this sword I carry wasn't forged in a day, Julius says. Even though I can only see the back of his elf head, I know he wears a smirk on his face. That makes even less sense, I shout. Yes, I know, Julius replies. Finally, the monotonous mountains begin to dissolve into a lush forest on either side. The sudden change in scenery is a breath of fresh air, a welcome respite from the endless valley. I think I smell the sea, Julius turns and says to me. You said that yesterday, I say. You agreed, Julius says. I was just being polite, I say, stopping to look around in the hope that something more than forest and field, and to my surprise, I spotted smoke rising from over a hill in the distance. Look, Julius. I point to the grey swirl of smoke that rises into the air. Julius turns and looks. Brilliant. Should we risk it? It might be dangerous, I ask. When has it ever not been? Julius replies. As we change direction, the glow from Julius's sword dims, and he places it in his belt. Then we head toward whatever is the source of the smoke, but hope it means no malice. We soon reach the top of the hill, and both look down to see a little tavern that sits pretty among the green fields that surround it. A small path, enough to handle a wagon, runs past the front of the house, heading in each direction. I also notice another smaller path that leads from the back of the building and winds its way to a forest, into which it disappears. Looks rather inviting, Julius says with a nod of his head. And I can't help but agree with him. Do you think they'll have any wildfire? I'd rather not consider that the tavern contains a bunch of orcs drunk on wildfire, Julius replies. Pity, I say as I begin my descent down the hill toward the tavern. As we draw closer, I notice a large sign hanging above the door that reads Manaher Outpost, and turn to Julius. I wonder who Manaher is. Probably the owner, Julius replies. Shall we? I ask. We shall, Julius replies, and we head across the pathway that looks to lead in endless directions each way. Julius pushes open the little gate, and we enter the front garden. It is filled with all manner of pretty, colourful flowers in bloom a path that leads towards the polished and well-maintained front door. I push the door open and am instantly enveloped in warmth and comfort. The crackling fireplace fills my nostrils with the inviting scent of smouldering wood. Aged timber surrounds me. The exposed beams overhead, the knotted pine walls, and it all blends into an earthy, homely aroma. Soft lamplight casts a golden glow, illuminating the well-worn furnishings and fine-crafted decor adorning the space. Tables and chairs are clustered together, some occupied by friendly-looking elves, but also humans, their faces engaged in conversation, or some quietly savouring the contents of their mugs. But it's the kitchen scents that really draw me in. The earthly amora of Baru floats on the air and mingles with the crisp fragrance of roasted burgona and the smokiness of Thison sizzling over an open flame. I think we may have hit the jackpot, Julius says, nudging me, and I think he may be right. No one looks up or stops their conversation as we stand in the doorway, rather shocked to have stumbled upon such a fine-looking place in the middle of nowhere. Welcome, a voice greets us, and we look to see a portly human female behind the bar. Both of us take a few steps closer to the bar, wearing that smile that begs people to think you are kind and friendly. Hello, Julius begins. This is Julius, and I am Savannah. I cut Julius off before he launches into the pontification of his introduction. Well, it is very nice to have you here. I am Inga. Are you here for the hunt? Ah, no, just passing through, Julius says. Oh, it's a long way from anywhere just to be passing. Don't think we've ever had anyone just passing before, Inga states. Greta, she shouts. My sister, the cook, she tells Julius and Savannah. Yes, Greta yells from out the back. Have we had any folks just passing through before? Inga shouts back. Let me think. Oh, yes, there was that one fellow once, remember. Wore those odd trousers and had a funny name, got plastered, and wandered off in the middle of the night. The only thing we found of him next morning was his odd trousers, Greta shouts. Oh yes, I remember him. Do beg my pardon. We do get folks passing through. Now it's time to make you two feel at home. Grab yourself a table and I'll get you drinks, and you can try a big bowl of Greta's Baru. It's to die for, Inga tells us with the biggest smile I have ever seen another human pull. Julius and I look at each other. Not being used to such friendliness, we are slightly taken aback. Regardless, we find a little table, and the elves and humans at the other tables nod and smile greetings at us. We sit and enjoy the warmth of the fire, and Inga appears with 2 mugs of ale and places them on the table. "Don't worry, wine will be served with your meal," Inga says. "Now, I suppose you 2 love birds will be looking for a room for the night to do the necessary. Oh, I do envy you. It's been years since I've shared a bed with someone." Julius coughs and spits out his ale. I don't know how to react, so I just grin. "Oh, no need to be shy, it's natural. You feel free, Master Julius, to bang the living daylights out of your lovely sweetheart here all night, if the want is in the both of you. Greta and I sleep like logs, so don't be thinking you'll be disturbing us," Inga says with a nod of her head and leaves. "I'm not sure where to begin with that one," Julius says. And although the thought of Julius banging at me all night did send quite the tingle through me, I say, "It's probably just the way of things here, plain talking kind of folks." "Yes, we'll run with that," Julius says, taking a large swig of his ale. Inga arrives with 2 steamy bowls of bahru and a bottle of wine. Not the finest of wines, but certainly the finest bahru, I promise you. "Greta is making up your room, so it'll be ready when you finish," Inga says. "Very kind," I say. "And this hunt, you talked about it. What is that?" Julius asks. "For the Manaha," Inga replies. "What's the Manaha?" Julius asks. "See, that's the thing. No one knows because the only ones to ever have seen it have never lived to tell anyone what it looks like," Inga says. "And when is this hunt?" Julius asks. 2 nights for now. Most arrive early tomorrow. By tomorrow night, this place will be full to the brim of eager hunters wanting the glory of killing the Manaha. Oh, it's a hoot and a half, I tell you," Inga says. "Sounds it," I say. "Not such a hoot the night after. Never more than a handful come back," Inga says. "Now you folks eat up. I could chatter on all day, I could." "Our stay, by the way, what of the cost?" Julius asks. "Oh, we don't charge because we pay no cost for our produce. It all comes given to us by the land, the forest and the mountain. There's no need for coin in these parts," Inga says, and heads back behind the bar. Julius looks at me and grins. "Excellent. Seconds it is, and another bottle of wine." "When in Orthani?" I replied. "What?" Julius asks. "Never mind," I replied, as I took a mouthful of the baru. "Oh, Julius, this is delicious. The meat is so tender." Julius takes a spoonful, and I watch his eyes light up. By the mother, I have never tasted meat like that in my life. If someone had told me a month ago that I would be running for my life instead of sitting in the stuffy classroom of the bordello, preparing to be sold off to indoor, I would have laughed.
The forest is not your safe space, little one.
But there's no avoiding my fate.
It's you. You're the one.
I've spent my entire life training to be the perfect bride for the top-bidding dark elf. So much can change in so little time.
You understand why you're being punished, right, child?
Your blood. It sings to me.
Please, let me out of here.
You need to learn your place.
But what are you? Where are you taking me?
Run!
I'm a bringer of death.
No, you're not dying. I won't let you.
You won't be able to get out.
Let me go, please.
Sadie, I will make you mine.